Unearthing the Gnostic Gospels. Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel, The Lost Gospels of Jesus. Today, we're embarking on an epic journey into one of the most mysterious and controversial discoveries in religious history, the Gnostic Gospels. These ancient texts, buried for centuries in the deserts of Egypt, challenge everything we thought we knew about early Christianity. They talk about multiple universes, a flawed creator god called the Demiurge, and a radically different take on Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and even Judas. If you're ready to have your mind blown, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's dive into this deep dive video. Drop a comment saying, "I'm ready," to join the adventure, and stick around to the end for a fun viewer challenge. Let's set the scene. It's December 1945, and a farmer named Muhammad Ali is digging near the cliffs of Nag Hammadi, a small town in southern Egypt. He's looking for fertilizer when he stumbles upon a sealed clay amphora. Inside, 13 leather-bound codices containing 52 texts, written in Coptic, an ancient Egyptian language. These manuscripts, now called the Nag Hammadi Library, date back to the 4th century but are likely translations of 2nd century Greek originals. Why were they hidden? Scholars believe early Christians buried them to protect them from destruction by the growing Orthodox Church, which branded these texts heretical. The Gnostic Gospels aren't like the Bible's Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. They're wild, esoteric, and packed with ideas that sound like they belong in a sci-fi novel. Instead of focusing on faith or obedience, they emphasize gnosis, secret, spiritual knowledge that unlocks the mysteries of existence. These texts paint a picture of a cosmos, far more complex than the one we're used to, with a sharp divide between the spiritual and material worlds. They suggest that the physical world we live in is flawed, even a mistake, and that our souls are trapped here, yearning to return to a divine realm. Why does this matter? Because these texts reveal a side of early Christianity that was suppressed for centuries. They show us a time when Christian communities were diverse, with competing ideas about Jesus, God, and the universe. The Orthodox Church, backed by Emperor Constantine in the 4th century, standardized Christian doctrine, and texts like these were labeled dangerous. But their rediscovery in 1945 opened a Pandora's box of questions. What if the version of Christianity we know isn't the full story? What if these suppressed teachings hold clues to a deeper truth? Before we dive deeper, let's pause. What do you think about ancient texts being hidden for centuries? Drop a comment with your thoughts, and let's keep exploring. The Gnostic Cosmos and the Demiurge. Now let's get to the heart of Gnosticism. Its mind-bending cosmology. If you thought the Christian idea of one God creating one universe was wild, buckle up because the Gnostics take it to another level. At the top of their cosmic hierarchy is the original creator, a transcendent, perfect God who exists beyond the material world. This isn't the God of the Old Testament who walks in the Garden of Eden. The original creator is pure spiritual light, untouchable and unknowable, except through gnosis. But here's where it gets weird. The Gnostics believe the material world we live in wasn't created by this perfect God. Instead, it was crafted by a lesser being called the Demiurge or Yaldabaoth. The Apocryphal of John, one of the Nag Hammadi texts, describes the Demiurge as an ignorant, even arrogant figure who thinks he's the ultimate creator but doesn't realize there's a higher power above him. He creates the physical world, our earth, our bodies, but it's flawed, imperfect, like a cosmic knockoff. The Gnostics saw this world as a kind of prison. Our souls, they said, are divine sparks, fragments of the original creator's light, trapped in physical bodies by the Demiurge's creation. The goal of life: to awaken to this truth through spiritual knowledge and escape the material world, returning to the divine realm. This is a radical departure from traditional Christianity, where the physical world is God's creation and inherently good. The Sophia of Jesus Christ, another Nag Hammadi text, takes this cosmology even further. It describes the original creator making 12 universes, each ruled by an angel. That's right, a multiverse. Each universe is part of a layered, multidimensional reality, far more complex than the single universe of traditional Christian or Jewish cosmology. But something goes wrong. A divine being named Sophia, one of the aeons, spiritual emanations of the original creator, tries to create something on her own without the creator's guidance. Her mistake gives birth to the Demiurge and the flawed material world. This flaw in the subordinate, as the text calls it, is central to Gnostic thought. It explains why our world is full of suffering, imperfection, and chaos. Sophia's error is like a cosmic glitch, and we're all living in its aftermath. It's a dark, almost tragic view of reality, but it's also hopeful because it says we can transcend this mess through gnosis. Quick question for you. Does this idea of a flawed creator sound familiar from any myths or stories you know? Comment below and let's see how many connections we can find. Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and Judas reimagined. The Gnostic Gospels don't just mess with cosmology, they completely reimagine Jesus and his disciples. Let's start with Jesus. In the Gospel of Thomas, a collection of 114 sayings attributed to him, Jesus isn't just a savior or a teacher. He's a guide to cosmic wisdom. One saying stands out: I am the light that is over all things. I am all. This paints Jesus as almost a universal force, not just a human figure. It's a mystical, almost pantheistic view that's way different from the traditional Gospels. Then there's Mary Magdalene, who gets a major glow-up in the Gnostic texts. In the Gospel of Philip, she's called the companion of the Savior, and is said to be loved by Jesus more than all the disciples. Some scholars, like those at Harvard Divinity School, argue this suggests Mary was a key leader in early Christian communities, maybe even a rival to figures like Peter. The Gospel of Mary, another Nag Hammadi text, shows her sharing visions and teachings that the male disciples struggle to accept. But in the Gospel of Thomas, there's a controversial line where Jesus says he'll make her male so she can become a living spirit. This has sparked debate. Is it about spiritual transformation, or does it reflect ancient biases about gender? Either way, it shows how Gnostic communities wrestled with big questions about women's roles. Now let's talk about Judas. The Gospel of Judas drops a bombshell. Jesus instructed Judas to betray him. In this text, Judas isn't the villain. He's the only disciple who truly understands Jesus' mission. The text says Judas' betrayal was part of a divine plan, helping Jesus shed his physical body and return to the spiritual realm. It even describes God as a luminous cloud of light, a mystical symbol far removed from the anthropomorphic God of Orthodox Christianity. This flips the traditional narrative on its head, turning Judas into a tragic hero. These alternative portrayals show how diverse early Christianity was. Different communities had their own takes on Jesus' teachings, and the Gnostic Gospels give us a glimpse into those lost voices. They challenge us to rethink the stories we've been told and ask, what else might we have missed? Pause for a second. What's your take on Judas as a hero? Drop a comment with your thoughts and let's keep digging. Gnostic practices and modern echoes. The Gnostic Gospels aren't just about wild cosmologies. They also shake up traditional Christian practices. Take the Gospel of Philip. It calls the practice of communion cannibalism, suggesting it's a symbolic act, not a literal one. This is a bold critique, showing how Gnostic communities reinterpreted rituals to align with their spiritual focus on gnosis over physical acts. They saw sacraments as pointers to deeper truths, not ends in themselves. But what's really fascinating is how Gnostic ideas resonate with modern thought. Their concept of 12 universes and a flawed material world feels like it could come straight out of a science fiction novel or a physics textbook. In 2025, physicists like Lisa Randall are exploring multiverse theories, where different universes have their own physical laws. Quantum mechanics, with its ideas of overlapping realities and probabilistic states, also echoes the Gnostic view of a layered, complex reality. It's almost like these ancient mystics were intuiting ideas we're only now exploring with math and science. Gnosticism's influence doesn't stop at science. In pop culture, movies like The Matrix mirror the Gnostic idea of a false reality controlled by a deceptive force, the machines, anyone. Books like Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials draw directly on Gnostic themes. with stories of rebellious divine beings and hidden truths. Even modern spiritual movements, like New Age philosophies, echo the Gnostic emphasis on personal enlightenment and self-discovery. This blend of ancient and modern makes the Gnostic Gospels endlessly fascinating. They're not just dusty manuscripts. They're a bridge between 2nd century mysticism and 21st century questions about reality, consciousness, and our place in the cosmos. Here's a fun question. Have you seen any movies or read any books that remind you of Gnostic ideas? Share them in the comments. I'm curious to see what you come up with. The legacy of the Gnostic Gospels. So, why do the Gnostic Gospels matter in 2025? These texts aren't just relics of a bygone era. They're a window into the diversity of early Christianity. Back in the 2nd and 3rd centuries, there wasn't one Christianity. There were countless communities, each with their own take on Jesus' teachings. The Gnostic Gospels show us how vibrant and varied those communities were, from their cosmic myths to their bold reinterpretations of Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and Judas. They remind us that history is messy, and the official story we've inherited isn't the whole picture. More than that, these texts challenge us to question rigid dogmas. The Gnostic emphasis on gnosis, personal spiritual knowledge, encourages us to seek our own truth, whether through religion, philosophy, or science. Their view of the material world as a flawed creation pushes us to look beyond the surface, Tosk, what's real, and their idea of multiple universes. It's a humbling reminder that our reality might be just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. In a world obsessed with technology and discovery, the Gnostic Gospels feel oddly relevant. They connect to modern questions about the multiverse, consciousness, and the nature of existence. They inspire us to keep exploring, to keep questioning, and to embrace the mystery of it all. Whether you're spiritual, skeptical, or somewhere in between, these ancient texts offer a fresh perspective on what it means to be human. Let's wrap this up with a challenge. Grab a friend and discuss. Do you think the Gnostic idea of a flawed material world makes sense? Or how about those 12 universes? Any connection to modern science? Drop your thoughts in the comments or tag me on social media with your ideas. If this video resonated with you, type "It made sense to me" below. I'd love to know what you think. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the Gnostic Gospels. If you enjoyed this deep dive, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, The Lost Gospels of Jesus, and hit the bell for more videos like this. Check out the links in the description for resources on the Nag Hammadi texts and Gnosticism. See you in the next one.